Jerry draws heavily from musicians in his approach to his performance. Some recurring themes he explores are sex, God, gods, alcoholism, questions, the kind without answers, his Christian guilt, and a deep want for community. So everyone please welcome Jerry Lang.
Thank you. I'm just going to go right into it. To begin, conversations in this garage are more or less non-logical banter, held together by individuals that personify other people for the sake of humor, and not having anything else to say that could drape the lonely that sticks out like a sore thumb when it gets too quiet. You can almost hear the hurt. So you hurry to put on another record. As it spins, it praises our self-indulgence. It's an altar to our complete lack of reverence. Everyone is as lost as I am here. Purgatory is the earth and all it makes you carry. So we don't let it get too quiet. Because without all the noise, all that seems to fill this vacuous semi-adult mid-drift is music and poetry and pretension. We praise the wandering soul, hand in hand with the crippled mind, looking down with condescension on those with less artistic vision, because we all swear to something that we're gifted. None of us will make up our minds on what we call truth, but we have a monopoly on doubt and uncertainty. With that thought in the back of my mind, I begin to catalog our actions, from my perspective, in hopes that someday I will be a mirror, an unbiased mirror, a monument to reality and hopefully progress. And our lives will meet as colors meet, and bleed into each other over a cigarette in some lukewarm town, bound to each other through questions and misdirection, numb, a quiet flame in a bonfire nation, each of us with different scars in our skin, burnt out on the heat within that bitter fruit we ate to swallow some pain, or just forget, a withered arm stretched out for loving community, some purpose, some God, some light that doesn't go out when the beer's gone. So take a deep breath with me. My words won't last long in your memory, so just remember me. As a silver tongue, as every mother's son, a personification of every situation and hole in your heart, and our lives will part, as seasons part, gradually, suddenly, easily forgotten. Monotony. Now it feels like I wake up twice a day. Once in the morning and again in the middle of the afternoon. I wake up 2 times these days. In the morning I wake up. In the afternoon, I wake up. The alcohol stuck a willow clog in my windmill gears. I'm the most sluggish I've been in years. I haven't been this sluggish in years. I've had it up to here. My opinions escape through open ears. I just agree now, tolerating everyone's stance on everything, unless it bothers me or what I want to do, because I don't have enough intelligence to put up a decent argument with anyone or any cause, so it's best to stay silent. Here, in this fluorescent lighting, my flaws are more pronounced than normal. I get self-conscious. Maybe I'm the reason she couldn't love me. Were they all better in bed than me? Were they like me? What could I do in this awful economy? Slugging self-pity like gas station 40s, doing lines of complacency while the faux fur counterculture absorbs me. Waking up again with a cup of coffee in my hand, fall asleep trying to understand supply and demand and zombify myself so I can get through the work days and wake up again on the weekend. Drunk. Now everything is reality and confessions. The act of writing is an art, but that art is not a skill to me, it's just a way to breathe. Mechanics of this escape me. Too lazy to become one of the greats, but I feel the spirits that made them move. Do you understand all that is God? All I am is nothing in the big picture. The lack of drugs I've done burrows in my backpack with the junk in my past. Now I just want to destroy myself to know how they felt. Could you tell me why I'm not satisfied with a good thing? Why can't she be all I want? Why can't God speak to his children? Why do I only speak in questions and hope that people find interest in my absence? The alcohol is destroying all that I am. All that I am asks for more time to figure out my place in this mistaken land. The trees in my mind are filled with black birds that blot out the sky. His face is emptier all the time. Why can't I keep a train of thought going long enough to come to a conclusion? Here, the man stands outside of himself as his lover smokes weed to try to forget about her other lovers and just feel better, about not listening to Jesus Christ and all of his commandments. Friends are getting married and not having sex until then, making us feel more dirty for doing it. And as we do it, the sweat drips from our limbs, hoping we both love each other as much as this action would say we loved each other in the right setting. Lips sliding down necks and faces in between legs, me inside of you. One organism meant to be a beautiful thing is just something to get us not to give up on each other. That's what I hope it is at its worst. In all honesty, most of the time it's just a drug like any other I don't notice taking its hold on us. Now I use you for my pleasure. You use me. I'm thinking of other women. You're not thinking of me. But I have an ocean of arms crashing to hold me, and an earthquake of mouths saying my wants by no means will ever outweigh the needs of the many. As individualism slips so deep into my bones, I don't see the thing that I thought set me free was the same thing that left me here alone. There have been a cyclone of feet that have been searching for the truth in circles, circling everything unstable, shaking foundations, and me with the mere lack of concentration start saying short-lived nothings, never-moving mountains, wanting more touch than I've ever been given. I just want you in my heart again, like when we were young. But who am I kidding? That never happened. I've been driving 90 down back roads, trying to outrun the past that's in front of me, knowing in the back of my mind that if one thing goes wrong, I just might die. Half hope that it would be over with, half begged that it would be painless. But when you ask me what I think about God, I can't help but say it's everywhere. So I started singing songs about the lost, that ache that festered in my bones between the marrow and that house that I never called home. And I went out like a sheep among wolves, without the wisdom of serpents or the purity of doves, my stubborn eyes shut tight to the purpose of my life, which made darkness of the days now no different than the nights I spent selfishly entangled in you. I was consumed by my weakness as I was absorbed into you, a tiger lily that I crushed in my palms with a calm gaze at your underbelly. I flipped you over to face me, a moment closely resembling love and perfection, but distorted through broken mirrors and vices grown crooked without correction, takes hold of your heart and begins to squeeze out what's really inside. The animalistic licking of skin is the personification of the thing that crept in when you were stripped of your dignity so early, stripped of your purity so young. And as I take a hand in dehumanizing you, I notice our brutality coming through with my hands around your neck. But the band's singing with cracking voices, your servant's on his knees, as I look at you through twisted lenses and I wonder how I got here. Well, I guess it's real easy when you don't have the opportunity. But when it was all laid out on a plate, it seemed like nothing could stop my hands from taking all they could take. I watched those hands grow. I remember looking at them and not having to remember all the pain I caused with them. I watched those hands grow. Those claws peek out of the wool, but I tucked them back in like a chameleon to fit in with whichever crowd I was in. A hypocrite among hypocrites. Not thinking of how long the scars would last or how contagious their poison. Oh, how overwhelming are those endorphins. I prayed I would be ready. But in the end, I was just another man, destroyed by a single drop of honey. I walked down city streets as my suicidal lover sleeps, attached to memory, detached from family and me. Well, I've been waiting so long not to be alone that a broken phone, as silent as me when she's angry, it gives an opportunity to feel less distracted, maybe less tormented by my mistakes, though their product remains. The gated storefronts, washed in yellow nicotine-stained finger lamplight, make gravity visible, filling the ground with a foggy glow as a church rises above the trees, as 7 letters welcome me. The contrast between sincere stone and shallow urgent polyester leaves me not wanting to go in at all. We Because I could have promised you I was healing with that terrifying confession in the sanctuary, where for once I said what I had done, not what I was feeling, where for once I felt like I gave all of my everything, where for once I thought I was forgiven, where for once I thought I'd never feel that way again. I'm sorry for everything I've become. I just wish I was a better person. Maybe someday this won't be such a fight. But somebody's got to be the bad example, though, right? Maybe. Honestly, I think I just gave up. Honestly, I'm bitter that you let me. The cannons in the jailhouse lawn recall the penetration that etched unseen scars in our hearts. Where she sleeps, I hold the memory of her powder blue eyes next to the memory, the trinity of freckles that are frozen in her skin. Like Orion's belt in the skyscape of her face, and I count the ways I loved her, and I count the ways I failed her. My thoughts, like songs for small-town gypsies, whispered with the spirits of sonnets from the Portuguese. Painstakingly personal, plucking a common thread of prophecy out of that fleshy nest of humanity, to see how it feels between the fingers, to see how it looks from an arm's length, to say we all hurt the same. Or at least we all hurt, and that makes us the same, right? I just want to know if you've ever had trouble speaking, ever had trouble believing, ever had trouble pleasing the people you love. I just want to know if you've ever struggled with the idea of leaving, ever had trouble surrendering, ever had trouble being anything at all. Have you walked alone down city streets while someone with your soul sleeps? Have you picked up habits to try to forget all the habits you picked up? Have you ever caught yourself praying when you swear there's no one out there to hear you? It's not the bad habits we hate, it's just that they control us. My face still warm from the alcohol, staring at the sky, strumming those simple chords, screaming questions, stories without an ear to hear or a heart to sympathize. I just want to know if you've ever had trouble hoping, ever had trouble eating, ever had trouble expressing yourself when you really needed to. I just want to know if you've ever feared aging, ever feared writing, ever feared being completely honest about everything. If so, give a voice to where we are, not to where we want to be. A song of longing, wanting, failing in reality. Pluck that thread of prophecy out of that fleshy nest of humanity. To feel us tremble and quiver together. Carve these moments in stone, so someday you can look back and know you were never alone. Because I fear being forgotten, as if it were my destiny to do that very thing. Moving pieces and empty parts of an open-ended machine where religions, he told me, were merely star maps to guide you through your own reality. So in my galaxy, the cigarette smoke fills the garage with empty talk that feels safe. Safe as sex upstairs, small talk, couches filled with dog hair. All these things are foliage for this glass house where the devil lives. Will all of this be forgotten as I feel forgotten? Where are the gods that sat in my skull, silently tasting me? Where are the dreams I had before black nothing filled my mind? Where is my soul in the search for the light? The night I drank myself lonely, I wanted to crush your heart in my bare hands. But I just looked over my city as if it were my city, sitting in the crosshairs of quantum theory, overshadowed by emotionalism, which pours forth from the foreheads of the unforgiven, now collecting into a pool at the foot of our lives like a mirror of smeared black ink that speaks. I've been given a voice to the shadow people my mother calls demons, for as long as I've had a pen. I whispered a prayer of wisdom over it, playing the devil's advocate, looking for a voice that empathizes with the darkest things, and then I lost myself in limbo. Will there be an end to this? There will be an end to all of this. Fire will consume your computers, your friends, their possessions. All secrets will be brought to the surface by the heat of your beer, your cigarettes, your notebooks, your crates of porn, sticky and warm, your love letters to lovers, and imaginary lovers will be consumed. Wall Street will collapse among the young and entitled as blood fills the street. In the name of freedom and not giving in to authority, the apple will rot from inside, finally. The cities will look like death itself by the time I reach them. With my olive green backpack full with condoms and whiskey and poetry, my black eyes will see the end of everything as we know it. And all of our dreams will have changed by this time. I don't believe I would recognize us at all at this time. All my family, the closest thing I have to anything real, will grow tired of me not loving them back when everything is consumed by fire. The banks will say they have no more money. I will say I have no more money. Beautiful women will be on their knees in the streets, pleasuring or begging for something to eat. And this grand republic will only be a memory. Democracy unhinged by survival of the fittest. The internet cafes will fill with dust, keeping the skeletons company that were peeled of their flesh, to demonstrate the power of atomic energy. Blogs full of lamentations, a hopeless whimper. There's so many gods that judge or purify by fire. The nations question what horn was sounded, what Jonah was on their ship. Hated peoples killed for closure and hopefully salvation. But there will be no rising hymn at the end of all of this. Who could sing with a mouth full of fire and dust? The pressing question of the season is it worth it? The days count down, memories pile up, belief damn near disappears, and for what? Sex and drugs and art and doing whatever the hell we want. The wheat is now ripe for harvest. Or if it was, would we be ready to taste the steel, living for the rush, or living for the comfort? Either way, I think I missed some major concept somewhere in my spiritual journey. It's still so early, but the oldest of us know that it's never too early to lose everything you have. So is it worth it? Is there some God that saves through a series of your own mistakes to show you what it takes to let go of self? I don't know. Somebody just told me I was being overly dramatic, and I wondered if I had anything good to say anymore. I mean, if all my passion and memory dissolve into idealistic weeping for sympathy, or just a caricature of a relationship gone to waste, then I don't want to speak. But there's no more hiding. Do you remember having sex on that roof? The same roof you threatened to jump off of, and how I wept for the grace I ravished, how I wept for the hope I had, how I wept for a God I can't see, and I begged him to come meet me where I am, in a lover's bed, drinking whiskey, trying to forget all the things you taught me for one good night, which ends with closeness that doesn't last. And then came my darkest night. I was just lashing out at shadows again. Brother, I know what we said about our regrets, but it's hard not to complain about what I won't forget. How she loved me, how she trusted me, and just when she started healing, I ripped the wings off her back, the tiger lilies from her hair. I pushed her away with the mere fear that she might go, the backward logic that weakens me by the alcohol. I pushed her away with the mere fear that she might go. I push her away just so she'll stay. And now the man she met 2 years ago is just a boy again, looking for his happy thoughts at the bottom of whiskey shots, spineless, all my fucking excuses. We talked about the price of boyhood, brothers, but it's worth far less than what I'll pay. Now I'm shadowboxing again, and she just keeps getting in the way. 7 years bad luck, a broken mirror, forgotten fears that just got brought back up. You're going down. We're going down. Because you're not just a part of me, you are me now. But I can't stay here. Self-loathing is a coward's game of pride. It blinds me to the need on your face and the stars in your eyes. I just see the fear I'm trying to hide. Just give that fear a face, that window. Just give that fear a face, that bookshelf. Just give that fear a voice. You asked me to please stop. But he just laughed and said, troubled artist, and I said, bullshit, I just want to vomit in my lap. But like a fool, I cursed my God before I passed out on my back. Now what conclusion can I come to that I haven't come to before? I can live just to live, or I can live for something more, but I said I had no father. I dropped my dirty money in the church, and I tore myself apart. Oh God Almighty, Jesus Christ, someone save me. Prophet, Allah, Buddha, all my vices. Someone kill the coward in me. I can't feel a thing. I don't feel a thing, and I think I'm finally lost. But then she took me to the shower. Said we'll wash each other and start this day over right. All exposed with this woman, I cried at the comparison. This compassionate carnal baptism with what once washed my fears away. I won't forgive myself, but she's forgiven me. So tell me your fears that escape through your eyes so I can relate to you in this moment. The human condition is crushed into thunder, reverberating in caverns of flesh as the logical mind redirects your dreams back into your chest instead of out through the mouth or the fingers. Take in a deep breath of science and theories, the so-called conflict of God and Satan, some cosmic joke or sacred paradox, thought of with Milwaukee's best intentions, atop that naked mountain that I climb every couple of days to calm my fire and avert my eyes from other landscape. There's a lot less metaphor in fucking until you're both soaring at the tail end of orgasm you see. The afterglow burnout in a pair of eyes built to cry. Sometimes it's hard to make love when you don't know what it means. But I will become your equals. Like it or not, I will. Fill my cup with the drink of fools, all cares sent to the back of my mind, while lines all snowy white in the bathroom kickstart bouts of focus pressed through no control. Driving fast and reckless, forgetting the directions, turns into confessions the next morning twisted in lies, because I'm just too afraid to admit that I'm just like you. So take your fears deep beneath the waves, sit quiet and try to figure out how to behave amongst the cosmic religious beliefs that smash atop the reefs and caves filled with pockets of wisdom that carry some truth I want to believe. Because under the altar, smoke and thoughts grew, leaving the earth on the yellow river. Death takes in whatever way it will. So when it comes down to it, what will I see? Salt sea of reality, rub clean the scales of humanity. I just want to see past it, reflecting some sovereign light that shines in every eye that lets in the light. But I said goodbye to the common belief, because I've been on my knees trying to cry, but I couldn't even breathe. My eyes never opened. Tiger lilies bloomed in the face of my former purpose. Now a wolf walks beside me. I will siphon some of his wisdom through my pen and out my mouth, and you'll listen, because art helps you carry the questions until you get to the truth. So can you take me through the framework of reality with a turn of a page or a leap of faith? Does the witch's hammer have any power, or is your magic just as weak as my religion? I'm so full of questions. So you can talk down belief. Can you take pride in saying you know nothing or everything? But there are dirty words in my blood and churches in my bones. I think you underestimate my power. If my mother's right and I can choke out some all-knowing light, what makes you think I can't smother you? I'm just caught in the ebb and flow of living young, scraping at the present as it slips into the past, condensing the meat of the words, just trying to make the emotion last, casting anchors into too deep of water, waiting for the promise of a frozen moment, mostly maintaining the gray misty memories, the palm prints in the concrete, fading pictures in my wallet, the fear of death that doesn't sleep while I sleep, swallowing the vomit at work and worried that months and months and months and months of drinking will finally put me in the ground. But I went out to the ocean. I looked out over the pier, hoping to see something that would put the fear of God back in me. But I couldn't speak. I couldn't cry, because whatever hope I had swelled up in my eyes. I just got back on the highway. Began to drive, just diving deeper down, looking for a better life. So as it could pass through thought into action, I hope it will pass through me. The power of creation, the simplicity I idealize so will grow into a complex dance, telling things of the human condition with the right inflection to explain the honesty of natural dishonesty. Why I do what I do could be the answer to why I was made. Another key to the heart of the maker. But these progressive beatnik motherfuckers want art to be more straightforward and vulgar, and I fear these seasoned paper ink elders see that I prefer shock value above discipline or skill, because there is a difference between masturbating your vices and being creative. So hate yourself, kill yourself, love yourself, praise yourself, sing of yourself, it doesn't matter. Here, where thrones of soiled couches crack at an honest question. Here, where writing about beer isn't an act of rebellion anymore. It's just the only thing that keeps my hands from shaking when I forget to eat. There, where I argued with a lamp on the sidewalk, and I started to wonder if his leg was, or if my head was too stuck in the clouds or up my ass to see anything the way it really was. But in the end, somehow, to you, I'm the one waving my arms and being melodramatic, because sometimes I throw up the discontent I swallowed with you at the bar, and somehow, to you, I'm just a baby in my evolutionary journey because I still entertain the thought of Jesus Christ. And somehow, to you, I'm just taking life way too seriously. And somehow, to them, I'm just a rebellious sinner because I look like the world and I act like the world and I drink like the world and I smoke like the world and I lose hope like the world. But they don't see that I would shake the world to its fucking knees just to be as certain and set in purpose as they believe themselves to be. So remember me, if you can. Not as some lost, violent soul, not some twilight stuffed in an incision like the stink of lifeless carcasses in a ditch, twisted in circles as the ashen tulips of war surround the framework of houses that will never be homes. Remember me as the sound of darkness discharged by light, a cannonade of ink, water, and echoes. Recall how I washed over you. As an invisible oscillation, retaining the memory of my skin quivering as adrenaline shot through my body. I am the whitewater rafts on your crashing blood. So remember me as screams or murky raven wings that talk this earth among its sea of tattered feathers. Remember me as what the lightning said, because I imitate as intimately as sex the glory that birthed me. With a word you echoed, and I heard you. But I'm not the voice of God. So just remember me as an echo, or the reflection off of broken glass, begging to be put back together, to be brought home to the whole picture, in a state of selflessness, like a cog in a machine, pointing to the hands that cut it, that held it with cotton comfort in the grave's relentlessness. Remember me, if you can, as the work of someone else's hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We need a break after that.